This is the second video in Photoshop covering masks, layers, and more. We're going to talk about curves, layers, and masking in this video. So the first thing you need to do before we get started is to download the file from the link in Blackboard. And then after you have it open, we'll get started in Photoshop. Okay, here we are with Photoshop. I'm going to open up the first file. I'm going to open up my download file. So bear with me. You know this is a process. If you ever are searching for a file, you can always sort it in a different way. I like to sort by the date added if it's something I've just added. So we are going to start with curves. So let's open up that file, and I'm just going to click on that particular one. And you can see that this is a pretty dark photograph. Let's move this guy out of the way. Let's pin the bar somewhere else. Let's just move it up here because it seems to always be in the way. So I am going to just see if that pinning works. All right, so pretty dark photograph. We're going to do curves. Now we have learned on the adjustments. Let's open up the layers so that we've got our background layer. I like to unlock it. And then I'm going to adjustments. So I am going to do one of the single adjustments. Now we've used levels and several different others in the first video, but this time we're going to work on curves. This is one that kind of perplexes a lot of people in Photoshop. So I'm just going to show you a really easy way that I was taught, and you'll be able to do this pretty quickly. So just go to this little tab where it says RGB and go to each channel. Remember in our color theory video, we talked about the different channels. Well, this is just the red channel. And you can see where let's get this a little bigger so that this is a little more evident. Okay, so now if you kind of make this box bigger, you can see the difference. So zero is right here, but this color, I mean, this photograph in red is not starting until a little bit over to the left. So move that slider so that you start getting into some of the information there, because that basically means there is nothing there. It's just blank. And this side looks okay. So let's just go on to the next one. Green. Let's look at the same thing. And now this one is beginning to be it's the information on the left side starts a little ways away from the end. And then this one is a lot way away from the end. So you can notice that the color is shifting as we do this, but don't despair. Let's just give this another minute. So now we're at the blue, and we can see that we have a lot of blue on the left, but we have practically no blue for quite a ways on the right. So let's go ahead and move it here. Okay, so now let's close this and let's just look and see what we have. So we opened it and it looked like this. And now we are at the other end, because in our history, we can go back and forth like that. And it is somewhat better. But I am going to go back to when I unlocked this layer. So now the adjustments, instead of doing that with all the different layers, I'm going to try auto. Always try auto, because honestly, AI is getting so good that it probably can make a lot better than my little sliding trick there. So see, it added somewhat of a curve that I did not add. So now we have a much better photograph. So we can turn that off and turn it back on. So the moral of this story is try auto. It's going to be your friend. And just to look and see what we've got here, we've got our curves in a different layer so that we can turn it off, turn it back on. We can adjust it. This is called non-destructive editing. The original stays. You don't lose any of the information of the original, but you have layers above that are affecting what's below. All right, that is all I wanted to do on this particular one. So let's just go ahead and save that with your last name and put it into a folder. So I'm just going to turn this off and I am not going to save it. So let's open the next one. File, open, and we have another curve. So let's try this one. This one is very bright, very brilliant and everything. So let's just go ahead with what we learned and let's just go to curves and let's do auto. Now let's see what we've got. I'm just going to go to layers. So I'm going to turn this off and it's really opened up the sky. It's opened up this beautiful cloud. So that's a good one. But okay, let's talk about editing whenever you start using layers. There's a big line that goes across here. Let's get rid of that. So I am going to make another layer. And I went from the curves to the background so that I could get a layer above here. Now I'm going to do something that's non-editing, and I think we've already covered this, but I'm just going to go through here and remind you so you can start doing this kind of thing. Or if you don't mind getting rid of that forever, you can come up here and use your spot healing brush. I'm going to make it a lot smaller. And I'm just going to go through here and get rid of. And with the sky, you have a lot more leeway. It's not like somebody's face. And so what I want you to do is just get rid of that line with your healing brush or cloning on the layer above. So you have the option of doing either one. Because the thing about Adobe, Photoshop, and all the others as well, you have so many options of doing things. So get rid of that wire however it best fits what you like to do. You know, if you feel more comfortable editing on the second line and getting in here and really making this disappear, that's good. It's all about the details. All right. Oops, I just made a mess there. So that's what you do to that one. I want you to try the non-destructive layer with the clone tool because unfortunately, and if it's not working, make sure that you have either all layers. I like to put current and below because that way you're not affecting every single layer. Or if you do just current layer, you can only clone on this layer that you've selected. So whenever you're using the non-destructive with the clone stamp, be sure to have current and below checked. Okay, so I'm going to let you do that. So now when you get finished, you need to save it and put with your name. I am going to just get rid of it, close, and don't save. You need to close and save. All right, so next we're going to go to masking. Now, this is what I want to really spend more time on. So let's just go ahead and open that. So what I want you to do is to choose each one of these individually at a time, one at a time, and choose, let's just go ahead and open this. All right, it's a nice kitty. So then you need to open one of the backgrounds. And you can choose any of these backgrounds. You don't have to use all of them. You just choose which one you want to use with each individual photograph. So a really quick way to go through this is open up open up this box and then have it selected, press the space bar, and it'll give you a preview. But I am going to choose this one right here, which is a cloud, to be my background. And I'm just going to go ahead and have it there just to have it all ready. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add the mask. And the mask is this little guy right here. And if you hover long enough, it's going to tell you all about masks. So I'm going to click that. Basically what a mask is, it's the white mask is like an open window. And if you take like your brush or something like that, and you start going over a part of it, see it's hiding part of the image. And it's still there. The image is still there. It's just that this little line that I drew with my paintbrush indicates that that is hidden from view. So that's what happens. You don't get rid of anything, you just hide it from view. So let me get back here. So we've got our mask and we've got our image. And we have several different ways to mask. We can either choose our marquee tool and fill it with black. We can use our uh, lasso tools, or we can use one of our quick selection tools, or we can try the new AI part of it and just say select subject. So let's see what we get, because what I'm aiming for is just the cat. I don't want any of the red blanket that he's sitting on or the chair or anything. So I'm just going to hit select subject and see what I get. So it got the cat pretty good, but I do have some red showing here. So I do have to edit it some, and that's all right. There is nothing wrong with that. So I am going to choose my lasso tool, and I'm going to get in there really close. Don't ever be hesitant to get in there really close. So I want to let you know that if I were to click right now, like if I just click, all that goes away, but all is not lost. You can always go back. So let me just, even after you've done something like that. Okay, so if you just step back, either by Command Z, which is how I did it, or by going back up your um, history log there. So now I've got it back. So if you click and you lose it, don't worry, you don't have to do it over again. You can always back up in your history or undo. So to keep from doing that, we need to push down the Shift key. And when you push the Shift key down, you notice you get a plus. So that means that I can add things to this. So let's say that there's something right here that I think I need to add. I can do that and close it up. And now it adds it. I'm going to take that off because I'm not so sure that needs to be there. If you want to take something away, you need to click the Option key. So now I can go in, and you only have to click it whenever you first start. You don't have to hold it down. I have a tendency to hold it down. I don't know why. Okay, so now I'm getting rid of some of that red cloth. And now I'm just going to do a shortcut and go back over here and close it just to show you that it does get rid of it. So let's do that some more. I'm going to just do this quickly. I'm not going to make you watch every little click that I do. Now we've got a lot down here, so we can go in the gray just to make sure we're getting everything. And remember, if you can't find this end point, you can always double click when you're pretty close to it and it will fill in that gap. Okay, so let's see what we've got. Okay, I've got a little red over here. I want to get rid of this. So I've got I'm using my Option key again, and I'm clicking ever so quickly here. Okay, so now we've got the cat pretty well selected. So now we need to go up to the top and do select and mask. So this takes us to another view. This is the masking screen. So we can choose what we want this to look like. I prefer having an overlay on it. You could do black and white. You could do marching ants. Um, it's an old school selection, but I do like to have that. So we want real-time refinement. Opacity, we can make it thicker or we can make it lighter. If you go lighter, it's going to just disappear into the background. So I'm just going to make mine a little bit thicker. All right. So we are going to I always like to put 2 pixels of feathering, because if you have a really harsh, hard line when you mask, it makes it kind of obvious that it's masked. So it kind of helps you a little bit just to kind of feather up that edge so that it doesn't have such a hard edge. This right here, you can actually invert it. Sometimes it makes it easier to do your editing if you switch it, so that now instead of the background is masked out. You invert it and now you've got the cat masked. So let's leave it for like that for just a second, because I think it shows easier what I'm about to show you. You have some tools over here, and you can use the tools for all kinds of things. Like if you've decided you have something that's not selected, that has a quick select, and it has all different kinds of things. But the one I use the most is the Refine Edge Tool Brush. A lot of people call that the hairbrush. So let's get closer so that we can find some hair. Okay. You can make this larger or smaller by using it, by doing it here, or it responds to using the bracket keys. The bracket keys are the ones that are, if you go up to your character P on your on your keyboard, it's right to the right of it. There's brackets. It's a bracket. If you don't know what it is, you need to Google it. Okay, so if you hit the right bracket, it makes it larger. If you click the left bracket, it makes it smaller. So I'm going to make this smaller. And what you do is you just go in there, and there will be better examples as we go along. It just kind of goes for where those hairs are, so that this is not set. You remember, I did that really quick. So this is a little refining on it. So this is not the best. I will show you some that just will blow your mind how well it does it. Okay, so you know how to do all that. Play with those, practice with those. I'm going to do just a little bit of his head. It seems like he's got a little bit of a halo. I'm going to invert this back, just because that's the way that it came in, because I had selected the background. So let's hit OK. And now before we fill this with anything, I want you to take a look at it. Right now we have marching ants, which that's what those little dotted lines that are moving are called. We have marching ants around the cat. However, we have no marching ants around the border. So this is probably backwards. So I just want to do this just to show you. So we have a bucket here that we can use. So we need to fill it with black. And I didn't have the right image chosen. So that's one thing that you need to look at. Not only are there not any marching ants around it, this heavier outline is around the wrong image. So let's do that. And we can go ahead and try this again. Fill with black. And just as I had predicted, the marching ants never lie. So let's undo that. So now the way that we can fix this is by going to selection and inverse. Or if you notice, this shortcut for that is Shift, Command, and I. So first of all, I'm going to do that. I used the actual drop down. But if you use the Shift Command I, it will reverse it. So if you want to use key commands, that's a really good one to know. But now we have marching ants on the outside, the border, and we have it around the cat. So it's going to work this time. So let's fill that. Make sure we've got the right frame. Fill it with black, and now we have a cat that's just floating in the air. So we can either hit Command D to stop that, or there is also deselect here. So use the deselect. Now let's go to, and now there's some things that could be cleaned up, but I'm just doing this really quick. We can go to our background. So we can actually select all of it. So I'm going to copy. So go to edit and you can copy. I like to do Command C, then Command V. You can also, if you don't want to do Command V, you can always say paste, but it's the very same thing. So the first thing about layering that I need to tell you about is where it's positioned is very important. Whenever you bring in another image from something from another place or create a new layer, it's always going to create above the layer you're currently selecting. So as we can see over here on the layers, my new layer is on top of it and it's blocking everything because that's what layers do. They block everything below it unless they have a mask on it. So let's just select this layer that's on top and click and drag, then let go. And now you see that I have, since it's underneath my cat is now showing through. And I can choose this image and I can actually move it around. I can Command T. So I am going to make this a lot big. Whoa, a lot bigger. So here we go. Free transform is what I was looking for, and it's under edit. Okay, so I am going to scale this. I want it a lot bigger. Scaling doesn't work very well in Photoshop. It has a tendency to stretch things, but I want to make it bigger. Okay. So now we have my kitty cat right here. And I'm going to do some more editing on this because this kitty cat needs to be floating in sky. So I'm going to just kind of take some of the crispness off of some of these edges by painting. If you'll notice over here, I'm painting some of the black. And so now we've got a kitty that is mingling with the clouds. Okay. So that's all I'm going to do on that one. You can use any background you want. I was just using that because this is the sweetest kitty in the world, and he passed away a few years ago, and I just like to honor him in this way because that's where he is. He's in kitty heaven. Okay, so that's all we needed to do to that one. I like making stories whenever I add different things in a Photoshop file. So you need to save this one with your last name and put it into a different folder, and we'll go to the next one. I'm going to cancel mine and just close. Don't save. Okay. So let's open the next file. I am going to go to one that I can really easily show you some techniques. Okay, this kitty has got a lot of whiskers with some dark background, so I'm going to do him. Actually, it's a her. I don't know why I said that. Her name is Baby. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a mask to the background. So I'm going to choose this again, select subject. Let's see how well it does. And it did a pretty good job. You know, I'm going to just go with this just for sake of time because I don't want you to watch a super long movie. So, in order to have the right tools, you have to have the right tools up on your control bar. You need to have the right tool over here selected. So you saw me looking around a little bit. It was because I had the wrong tool selected. So if you select one of the selection tools, it's going to show all of those kinds of things. So I'm going to say select and mask because we've already got the subject and we have our subject highlighted. I'm going to add my 2 points of feathering. 2 pixels, not points, 2 pixels. And I'm going to invert this just so that you can see it better. Now, what I want to show you is the hair tool. The other one wasn't really showing how to do the results of it very well. So you just take it and you brush it over where the hair is showing up. And wow, 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 look at that. It just does such a fabulous job. I want to do the whiskers. Y'all can do the whole thing, but I want to show you on the whiskers. There's a problem over here because I actually need to fill this part in because her little cheek didn't make it. But then you can go out to these whiskers. And you can always go and edit them once you bring them back into Photoshop. But for right now, let's just go crazy and get them all. It works either way. Sometimes it fills in some and it looks like it's kind of straight and chunky maybe. You can go through there and get a nicer bit of hair there. All right, so I am going to just leave it like this and say, okay. Now when I bring it back in, you notice I've got the marching ants on the outside and I've got marching ants around the kitty cat. So I'm going to fill it with black. And here we have a really, really well-defined bunch of hair. I'm going to show you a different way to bring in a background. I showed you how to copy and paste it on the other one, but I'm going to show you one other way. Go to File, Place Embedded. And now choose embedded because that way everything's together. We'll talk more about linked versus embedded in Illustrator and InDesign. But for right now, just take my word, do embedded. So this takes us back to the last file folder that we opened up. And we can choose again all of our backgrounds. I'm not going to do, oh, you know what? That really is like, that's the cat's personality. It is chaotic and all over the place and the zoomies all the time. So I am going to choose this one and let me get rid of that and place. And again, it makes a layer. I had this one chosen, so it makes a layer on the top of it. And I want to make this larger. And notice that it's got a different image right here. What that means is it's a smart image. And a smart image is really good because it preserves resolution, which is how clear the image is. If you just make an image larger, it's going to make those pixels really big. So this is actually a very good thing to have, but you can't edit the photo when it's like that. So if you want to edit the photo, you're going to have to come up to Layer, Rasterize, Smart Object. And then when you do that, that'll go away. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that right now. I want to, once again, transform. So free transform. I want to make it scale. Let me back up a little bit. So I'm going to, and it does not scale. I don't understand why it does not do that. So I'm going to free transform. I'm going to, okay, it just does not want to cooperate today. I'm just going to do the best I can. So now I've got it like that. So I want to make it rotate. So I've rotated it. Okay, so done. The resolution didn't suffer too much, but we've still got that problem of it hiding the cat. So remember, you got to select it, click, pull with the click held, and then you've got it on the background. So what I want you to do now is to take a few minutes and mask each one of the subjects and add a different background to it. And you can choose your subjects, you can change the colors, whatever you want to do. I just want you to play with masking things and changing backgrounds. Okay, so stop the tape for a little bit, stop the video for a little bit and work, and then we'll get to the next part of this particular lab. All right, so now you finished your masking and replacing the background. Let's open up another one of the file photos. Let's see, replace sky. Yes. Now, I know there are 8 of those. I know that's a lot, but it's so you can practice, so you can get better and better at it. It's more like muscle memory. After you've done it 8 times, you'll probably remember it a lot easier than if you did it once. So, do lots of practicing. Let's do this replace sky here. Now we could do just like we did last time and mask all of this out and find a photograph and move it in and have to go in and make sure that it's right all amongst all of those little tiny leaves. Or we can do it the Photoshop way. Now this is sort of an AI type thing and it does a really, really good job. This is Big Ben, by the way. So what we need to do is we need to go into Edit in your menu, go to Sky Replacement, and it gives you a whole bunch of different selections here. You've got all of these different skies. You've got blue skies, you've got spectacular skies, you've got sunsets. So you can choose any one of these things that you really like a lot. I really prefer something that's a little more realistic. So I have chosen that sky. And you can see it previews for you right off the bat. I mean, it's not like you have to do the whole thing. Oh, wow, I kind of like that better. But you don't have to do the whole process and wait 5 minutes for it to render it in order to see how it looks. So it gives you a really good preview. All right, so I have chosen this one. So I am going to say yes, and I'm going to return and return. And now it's done it. That's how fast it is. Let's look at the layers. So as soon as I hit return and return, it replaced the sky. So you can see all of these different things that it's done. It's done lighting. Ooh, I don't know that I like the lighting. I think I like it without the lighting. You can go in and adjust things if you want. And it just has all kinds of different layers and adjustments and everything. And it did it so quickly. Yeah, I just don't like that layer. I think that layer is, see, that's what we do. We edit the AI stuff. So very fast. I want you to do all 8 of them. It's not going to take you very long. So right now I'm going to close this one. So work on those and then we'll go to the next one. Let's open up the next thing that we're going to do, which is straighten. So this one is a 2-part thing. We have Shiprock here, kind of an artsy photograph. Honestly, I took a whole lot of photographs that day and I only did one of these. You can manipulate in Photoshop. To do this kind of stuff in camera is really kind of sad because if that's all that the person told you, it gives you that you're doing a book about the Four Corners area, and they give you this picture of Shiprock, but they want it straightened and they want it to be big, and there you go. You have this. So let's see how we can fix this. I am going to move this little guy out of the way. He's driving me crazy. So if you want to straighten something, remember what we did. We went to the crop tool and straighten shows up here in your control panel. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to pick something that I want straight. So I'm just going to start up here at the pretty close to the edge, and I'm going to click and hold my click and pull it across. And it's not going to be perfectly straight because the earth is not perfectly straight. So now I've got something like this. So before I say okay, I'm going to move this around and get this in one of the nice little corners there to make a good one. Okay, so now I'm going to say done. So now I've cropped it and I've got these really dark areas because I did not have my layer unlocked. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway. So I'm going to start out with a really large cloning tool brush. I'm going to add another one on the top so that I don't have to worry about if I do something wrong having to do all kinds of stuff. So remember, with our cloning tool, we click out somewhere to load our color. So I'm just going to gently color this. Okay, so I pretty well covered it up. We'll be okay for right now. Now I'm going to go out here and I'm going to click, and this is not looking nearly as good. Let's try something different. Let's choose, I'm going to use my lasso tool. So let's fill this with content aware. And let's say okay. It didn't do the best job, but it is not a bad job at all. Let's use the nice little cloning tool. I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to choose. And you see, I've suddenly got this extra image here where that it's kind of all matching. And you don't really want to do that because that starts looking really phony really fast. So what you can do is you can pick and hide some of this. Okay. So now we've got it doesn't look totally straight, but it's better. I mean, honestly, the land is not totally flat there. So that looks relatively well. We went from this photograph to this photograph, which is so much more usable. Okay, so that is it for this particular lab. So do all of the photos that are in the image in the folders, except for the backgrounds on that one where you're replacing the background. You don't have to use all of those. I just wanted to give you some choices. So that's pretty much it for this particular lab. I will see you next time.